Before we dive into today's incredible story of resilience, make sure you have subscribed to our channel and hit that like button. You will not want to miss how one woman turned the tables on a life built on lies. My name is Sarah Davis. I am 39 years old and live in a quiet suburb near Chicago, Illinois. My life used to look like a perfect picture to outsiders. A cozy craftsman house nestled among oak trees, a well-behaved son, and a husband with a stable job in global logistics. But the truth is that picture was painted with my patience with the constant whisper, "It will get better," for 15 years. My husband, Michael, is 42 and works for a global shipping company. His job has kept him away from home for most of our marriage. When Alex, our son, was 5, Michael started taking long business trips. At first, it was a few weeks, then a few months. Now it is nearly all year round except for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and his mother's death anniversary. I do not blame him for that, really. I understand financial pressure. I understand duty to company. What I did not expect was how his absence became routine, and so did the silence between us. I gave up my career in graphic design after Alex was born. We agreed I would stay home to raise him, and I did completely. Every meal, every parent-teacher conference, every fever at 2:00 in the morning, I handled it all. In the beginning, Michael used to say things like, "You are amazing, and I am lucky to have you." But in the past few years, those words disappeared, replaced by short texts like "in a meeting" or "do not call now." I went back to work 2 years ago, not because we needed the money, but because I needed to breathe. I started teaching pottery at a community center 10 minutes from home, just a few classes a week. But it reminded me I existed outside of being a wife and mother, and I started writing. At first, it was just journal entries, short posts on an anonymous blog. But over time, I got swept into the world of a character I created. A woman quietly fighting against lies no one believed could be exposed. I used the pen name S.D. Carter. No one, not even Michael, knew it was me. My debut novel, posted on a small writing forum, had over 100,000 followers. I did not tell anyone because I thought this is just for me. Alex is 16 now. My son is more thoughtful than his quiet nature lets on. He rarely asks about his father, but I know he notices. Once I caught him standing in front of our wedding photo, staring at it for a long time. When I asked, he simply said, "It is weird. Dad is never around, but he is in every photo." I said nothing. I did not know how to explain it in a way that felt honest. Every time Michael came home, it felt like a rehearsed play. He brought gifts, asked a few polite questions like, "Is everything okay?" Stayed for a few meals, then left again with promises of more time soon. And I, foolish, nodded like a clock wound too tight. Our marriage was not passionate, but it was not explosive either. It felt like a glass of water left sitting too long. Clear but tasteless. Still, I kept thinking, for our son, for the family, for a real home, people get tired. But they come back if love remains, right? I believed that until one April afternoon, Michael called me on video, his first contact in nearly 2 weeks. I smiled when his face appeared on screen, but he did not smile back. He said 5 words, his voice calm enough to chill. "Sarah, we should get divorced." I sat still. For a second, it felt like a line from a novel I had not written, but it was not fiction this time. It was real. I stared at the screen as the call ended. His words echoed in my head like a hammer striking hollow metal. "Sarah, we should get divorced." No tears, no screaming, just a strange emptiness growing slowly in my chest. 3 days later, a thick envelope arrived by express mail. Sender M. Davis, listed from an office in Houston. Inside were neatly printed documents marked in yellow, divorce papers, financial terms, a proposed asset division, and a small handwritten note. "Thank you for everything. I believe we both deserve a new life. Back home before fall, so please prepare to move." Oh, I stood at the window, the note trembling in my hand. "Move?" He actually wrote "move." No apology, no explanation. When I called back, Michael answered after 6 rings. His voice was tired but firm. He told me he did not want this to get messy. I asked if he thought sending divorce papers and telling me to leave the house was what he considered polite. He said we had been living apart for too long. He was in Houston, I was in Illinois. That was not a marriage anymore. But that was your choice, Michael. I never agreed to live like this. "I stayed for Alex, for your parents, for this house." He paused for a moment, then said flatly, "Just go over the paperwork. I will support Alex until he turns 18. I will cover moving costs if needed." I laughed, a dry, bitter laugh with no joy. 18. Alex just started 10th grade. That is almost 3 more years. You think it is that simple? Michael said he was not trying to fight for custody and that Alex should be with me. He would send money each month, and that was the best he could do. I gripped the phone tightly. What about the house? He told me it was under his father's name and that after he passed, it transferred to him. He said I had no legal right to keep it. It was Davis family property. That last sentence cut straight through me like a blade. After all the years here, caring for every brick, every garden bed, I was just a tenant. When Alex got home that night, I did not say a word. I made burgers like usual, asked about his study group, pretended nothing had changed, but inside I was already planning. 3 days later, I called Michael again. I told him I was not signing. He said I was making this harder than it needed to be. No, I replied, I am being a mother and I am doing what is right. If you want my signature, we renegotiate. I want your legal commitment to support Alex through college, not just until 18. He told me I could not demand that he had no legal obligation. But you have a moral one, Michael. And if you do not agree, my attorney will take it up with family court. He did not say a word, just ended the call. I knew Michael always hated drama. That hardworking, private, responsible man image was everything to him. He wanted the divorce to be quiet, quick. But I was not a shadow anymore, not the keeper of the home, waiting patiently for him to show up on holidays. I flipped through the documents he sent. The asset list mentioned relocation support, but nothing about the 15 years I sacrificed. No acknowledgement for giving up my career to raise Alex, for caring for his parents during their illnesses, or for holding this entire household together. A few days later, I received a text. If you keep dragging this out, I will not pay a dime after the divorce. Think carefully. I replied with just one line, then I will see you in court. I turned off my phone, opened my laptop, and began drafting a formal response. My story was far from over. The more Michael pushed, the quieter I became. He kept messaging, reminding me to sign the divorce papers before August. His reason, wanting to wrap things up cleanly before heading back to the Houston office. Sounded reasonable, but a creeping unease settled in me. A man who always avoided responsibility. Why was he suddenly in such a hurry to finalize a divorce? One night after Alex went to bed early, I sat in front of my laptop and pulled up Michael's old work emails. One detail caught my eye. For the past 6 months, his emails had not come from Houston, but from an IP address in a suburb called Pearland, a quiet small town, perfect for hiding something. I hired an online private investigation service. Not the spy movie kind, just a middle-aged woman named Linda who used to work in divorce asset tracing. I sent her the temporary office address Michael had mentioned, his travel schedule, and a few personal details. Linda told me to give her 3 days. On the 4th day, I received a photo. In it, Michael stood in front of a slope-roofed suburban home holding a grocery bag. Beside him was a young woman, early 30s, blonde waves, smiling. A little boy, maybe 6 years old, held her hand with a popsicle in his mouth, looking at Michael like he was his father. Behind them was a gray pickup truck, same one Michael had told me he sold last year. I felt the blood drain to my feet. Not because he cheated, because he had been living another life while still calling me his wife, still sending birthday gifts to Alex. Linda confirmed the house belonged to a woman named Jessica Miller, currently a dental assistant in the city. The boy was Liam Miller, but there was no father listed on the birth certificate. Michael had rented a separate, smaller apartment nearby to use as his official residence in case his company ever checked in. He had built 2 lives, one to live in, one to cover up. I sat in the dark for a long time after reading the report. The betrayal was not the hardest part anymore. What kept me awake was the sheer audacity. He had a child, a family, and he was pushing me and Alex out to make it official before the school year started. He did not just want a divorce. He wanted to erase me so he could bring his other child into this home. So I did what I do best. I wrote. I drafted an email to Michael, attached 2 photos, and wrote a short message. If you want my signature, be ready to cover Alex's full college tuition, attorney fees, and moving costs. Otherwise, I will be happy to present all evidence in court. 15 minutes later, my phone buzzed. He wrote that he could explain. I texted back, I have had enough of half-truths. Say it clearly and own it. He claimed I was blowing this out of proportion, that Jessica was just. I told him not to lie again and asked if the boy was his son. Silence. On the other end, only heavy breathing. I continued slowly. You have the right to live your life, but no one has the right to trample over others to build a new one. You will not leave Alex without a home, and I will not be thrown out like a stranger. He cut the call without another word. 3 hours later, I received a short email. We need to talk. I will come by this weekend. I looked at those words and thought, now it truly begins. Michael showed up as promised. On a hot Sunday afternoon, he stood at the door in a pressed dress shirt, carrying no luggage, his face blank. I did not invite him in, but he walked through the doorway anyway, as if he still owned the place. He bluntly asked what I wanted to sign the papers. I looked him dead in the eye and asked if he was in such a rush because the kid needed to enroll in school. His expression faltered. He did not deny it. He did not explain. He turned instead to the shelf at our 2004 wedding photo. He said he did not want to make this difficult. Just sign, and he would leave enough assets for me and Alex to live comfortably. I said thanks, but I did not need him to leave behind anything. I just wanted the truth to stand in the right place. I pulled a stack of documents from the drawer and placed them on the oak coffee table. Michael stared at it like it was a ticking bomb. He asked what it was. I told him they were legal documents, including an updated deed to this house, a preliminary will from Harold Davis, his father, and an adoption certificate. Adoption? Michael stepped back. I continued calmly. Last year, after your father had his second stroke, I was the one who took him to therapy every week. You did not even answer his calls once during those 3 months. Michael's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. During that time, he rewrote his will, fearing you would try to manipulate things after his death. He had me legally adopted. This house is now under my name, granted as a living gift per his estate planning terms. I slid a certified copy in front of him. Michael grabbed it, eyes scanning each line, a vein twitching on his forehead. He claimed it was forged. I told him to feel free to take it to court, that his father's attorney had verified everything, and that I have the notarized original. If needed, the court could contact him, as he was still sharp and ready to testify. He dropped onto the couch like the air had been sucked from his lungs. I did not stop. As for the inheritance, after you announced the divorce, your father filed a formal petition to revoke your inheritance rights. Under Illinois law, if approved, the remaining estate will pass directly to Alex, his biological grandson, under intestate succession. He spluttered that his father could not do that. I said he can, and he already did. His reason was that his only son knowingly had a child born out of wedlock, lived a double life, and discarded his original family like worn-out furniture. I made sure to say each word slowly, clearly, like hammering away at the false reality Michael had built for years. He bowed his head, hands clasped, chest rising unevenly. A moment later, he looked up, his voice weak. So what now? You are kicking me out? No, I am letting you walk out once you realize there is not a single brick left under your feet. I stood and walked toward the door. This house belongs to me and Alex. We are not going anywhere. You better find a new apartment for your child before the school year starts. Michael rose slowly. Not a word. Just as his hand touched the doorknob, I spoke again. Oh, and one more thing. If you plan on avoiding child support for Alex, do not worry. I will bring all of this to the family court, and if necessary, I will make it public. Every detail, including how you maintain dual residences during work trips. He froze, turned around, eyes wide. He dared me to try. A calm expression crossed my face, not out of spite, but from the quiet power of knowing I could finally protect myself. Michael left that day, and I knew the board had turned. 3 weeks after Michael moved out, a message from a major publishing house in New York landed in my inbox. The subject line was simple. Congratulations, we are officially acquiring the adaptation rights to the Willow Creek Letters for an animated series. My hands trembled slightly as I read it. My debut novel, written under the pen name S.D. Carter, was becoming a Japanese-American anime series set for global release next spring. No one knew S.D. Carter was me. For 3 years, I had quietly uploaded chapters to an international writing platform, read every line of feedback, edited in silence, and grew alone. I never told Michael. I knew he would dismiss it as a time-wasting hobby. But now, that waste of time had earned a 6-figure licensing deal. More importantly, it brought recognition, confidence, and the proof that I was never the dependent one they imagined. On contract signing day, I brought Alex with me. My son wore a crisp white shirt, hair neatly styled, his eyes glowing with pride. After leaving the publisher's headquarters, we stopped at a little diner for dinner. As the main course was served, Alex looked at me for a long moment and asked if I was going to tell Dad. I set my glass down, paused, and said not yet, but I thought it was time. The opportunity came sooner than I thought. A week later, Michael called, the first time in over a month. His voice was no longer sharp, just low, uncertain. He said he heard about his dad, that Alex had spoken with him. He did not expect things to go this far. I told him he should have called him sooner, not for the house, but because he was his son. But it was too late now. Silence. Then he spoke again, like he was trying to reach for something long gone. He knew he messed up, but he also knew I was not just someone who stays in the kitchen like he used to think. He said I had always had something more, that he saw it in Alex's eyes how proud he was of me. I let out a soft laugh. I have always been me. You just never looked closely enough. I paused, then said firmly, I am SD Carter. A beat of silence, then from the other end, a confused what? The author of the Willow Creek letters. The one you asked Alex about the other day, asking who writes women that are so ridiculous. He stammered, no way. I asked why not. Was it because I was his wife for 15 years, and in his eyes I was just a housewife who cooked, cleaned, and fulfilled her role? I stopped, my tone calm but steady. I have spent the last 2 years studying family law, property rights, and civil law. Not to fight anyone, but to fully understand what I have the right to protect. His voice actually shook when he asked if I studied for this. I studied so I would not be a victim the day betrayal came. The divorce papers are signed. All financial terms are finalized. The assets are certified. And the entire income from the upcoming adaptations has nothing to do with you. I cut him off. If you are calling to claim a share, do not. If you are calling to apologize, I acknowledge it. But if you are calling to come back, it is too late. Silence on the other end. I said softly, some things do not break from impact. They fall apart because they have been neglected for too long. That night, while Alex was rereading the draft of my next novel, he said his dad told him I was a dangerous woman because I stay quiet and still leave people with no way out. I held his gaze steady and calm. If that is what your father thinks, then there is no need to correct him. From that moment on, I stopped fearing abandonment. I had learned how to stand on my own through knowledge, calm strength, and the very chapters I wrote with my own hands. 2 months after Michael stepped away from our last call, I received a strange email from his workplace. It was from the regional HR director. The message was brief and cold. It confirmed that Mr. Michael Davis had been officially transferred to the branch office in Rapid City, South Dakota, with a downgraded role to a lower tier. It requested that if there were any ongoing legal matters between us, to submit all documentation to their legal department for processing under labor compliance. I was not surprised. I just did not expect things to move that fast. Through a few contacts I still had, including a former colleague of Michael, S., who kept in touch because she admired my novels, I learned what had happened. After Michael pushed me to sign the divorce papers and failed, Jessica, his mistress, called his office herself, asking to verify paperwork for residency sponsorship for her and her son. That call was recorded. A few days later, an internal report was filed. Michael was cited for violating the company's ethics policy, using business travel to maintain a double life, and using his corporate housing to conceal an undeclared personal relationship. There was no termination, but the demotion, relocation, and loss of all privileges were enough to permanently erase a rising candidate from senior management's radar. I heard Jessica could not handle the harsher pace of life in that small city. Her son Liam frequently missed school due to trouble adjusting to the new environment. According to a post she quietly shared in a single-mother parenting group, Michael, once the confident man in a dark suit and nice watch, was now a temporary logistics analyst working in a windowless room. I did not feel triumphant, but I did not feel sorry either. One late autumn afternoon, I received a package by express mail. No sender name. Inside was an envelope containing a bank check for $85,000 and a handwritten note that read in stiff print alimony, "Do not contact me again." I laughed. A man who once thought he was clever enough to outsmart family, the law, and ethics, now had to pay to be forgotten. But the scariest thing is not losing money, it is losing trust. I used that money to do the only thing I believed was right. I founded a scholarship named after my former mother-in-law, the woman who once called me the daughter she always wished she had. The scholarship is for high school girls in the state who want to study literature, education, or law. The 3 things that saved me from years of living like a shadow. As for Jessica, word has it that after growing increasingly frustrated with Michael, she started live streaming craft sales online, occasionally venting about men who say they love you but never take responsibility. When a viewer commented, "Are you sure you chose the right man?" she immediately blocked them. "I have no opinion. Everyone lives with the consequences of their choices. And Jessica chose a man who once abandoned his family without hesitation. That alone says enough. Alex is now a first-year communications major. My son has never asked about what happened between me and his father. But on his 17th birthday, when I handed him a signed copy of my book from the publisher, he simply said, 'Thanks, Mom, for not giving up.' Life never goes back to what it was, but it can begin a new version if you are brave enough to end the old one properly. I am no longer the Sarah who lived in waiting. I am a mother, a writer, and the only person who gets to define who I am." 1 year after signing the divorce papers, I stood on the balcony of a historic loft in Chicago's Arts District, holding a warm cup of coffee, watching people bustle below through the fiery colors of fall. This apartment is not as big as our old house, but it breathes freedom. No more cold suitcases showing up on holidays. No more silent meals heavy with unspoken things. Just me, Alex, and our own space, where everything is real, nothing is hidden or forced. After the Willow Creek Letters anime series premiered, feedback from both the US and Japan exceeded expectations. International translation rights were quickly purchased. The main character, a woman who quietly turned her life around, became a symbol shared by thousands of readers across online forums. I never appeared publicly. No press conferences, no book signings. Every interview was written through a representative. I kept the pen name SD Carter as a way to separate my career from my private life and to let Sarah Davis live fully without spotlights or judgment. With steady income from licensing and adaptation deals, I no longer worry about end-of-month bills. But what fulfills me most is being able to write every day, not in secret, not waiting until everyone is asleep. Alex is now a freshman in digital media. He lives in the dorms and comes home on weekends. But every time he walks in, he greets me with the biggest smile, hugs me for a long moment, and only then drops his backpack. Once I joked that life must be fun if he comes home smiling like he just won the lottery. Alex answered dryly, "It is because here I do not have to explain who I am." I did not reply, but my heart, which once shrank from too many disappointments, has now learned to warm up in quiet, gentle ways. On a rainy night, with wind rattling the window pane, I sat at my laptop and opened a blank document for a new project. This time, the main character is a 39-year-old woman living in a suburb who loves her son, loves pottery, and was once deeply betrayed. But she does not fall. She turns pain into prose, silence into strength, and walks out of abandonment on her own 2 feet. I did not name her right away. I let her walk, speak, breathe, and rediscover herself just like I once did. Maybe this time I will not use a pen name. Maybe. Or maybe I still will because I want the world to know only the story, not the woman behind it. One day I received an unmarked envelope. Inside was an old photo. Me, Michael, and Alex standing in front of our old house on some past Thanksgiving. On the back, a few shaky words were written. If I could do it again, I wish I had been different. I folded the photo, placed it in the bottom drawer, and closed it. Not to forget, but to never repeat. Alex and I continue to live in peace. No drama, no need to win, just the freedom to be ourselves and to see each other clearly without distortion. In the end, I realized freedom is not about walking away. It is about having the courage to stay with yourself after everything else has fallen apart. My story is not just about leaving a broken marriage. It is about returning to who I truly am. I was once dismissed as just a stay-at-home mom, overlooked, betrayed. But I did not fall. I stood up, learned how to protect my son, my assets, and rewrote my life, one word at a time. Today, I live freely, happily, and strong enough not to need anyone else to define my worth. And I believe anyone can do the same. What do you think about Sarah's choices and the ending Michael faced? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more heartfelt and powerful stories about life, family, and resilience.